In China, Colombian President Gustavo Petro arrived on an official visit where he will hold a meeting with his counterpart Xi Jinping. In Palestine, humanitarian organizations warn that the hospital system is on the verge of collapse as a result of Israeli bombardments. The United Nations mourned the death of at least 35 UNRWA workers in Palestine during Israeli shellings. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, arrived on Tuesday in Beijing, the capital of China, where he will hold a meeting with his counterpart Xi Jinping. The head of state, who arrived along with Foreign Minister Álvaro Leiva Duran, among other members of his cabinet, was welcomed with military honors by the ambassadors of Colombia in China and his counterpart in Bogota, Sergio Cabrera and Su Jinyan, and the Director General of the Foreign Ministry for Latin America and the Caribbean, Kai Wei. President Petro stressed the importance of advancing a multipolar world and said that part of his visit is focused on trade issues under the Belt and Road Initiative. The Colombian president said that during the visit he intends to bring some relief to the exhausted economy he inherited from his predecessor, Iván Duque.
As a result of a terrible debt policy during the COVID period, we have an over-indebtedness that could be improved if the debt profile is improved in terms of payment times. We have a short-term debt that is practically drawn in the finances in these 3 years, and that if it is put as a long-term debt, could reduce those problems that the national budget has today.
The Colombian head of state also talked about aspects related to the Belt and Road program during his tour in the Asian giant.
It has its ups and downs. It is a policy of worldwide infrastructure construction, but in the case of Colombia, it has a special feature, and there is the link between the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic. Few countries have it, and that makes us practically a bridge of world trade. And more than a bridge, it could be an opportunity for Colombia in terms of the development of a railway infrastructure, which is vital.
Criminal gangs murdered at least 13 police authorities in the state of Guerrero, southern Mexico. Among the victims are Alfredo Alonso Lopez, Secretary of Public Security at that municipality, Honorio Salinas, Director of the local police, and 13 corporation officers. Security forces unfolded officers were ambushed and attacked in El Papayo County within the Acapulco-Zihuatanejo Federal Road. Secretary of Security Alonso Lopez took the post in December, replacing David Borja, who resigned after being attacked by alleged members of the organized crime. The government of Venezuela issued a statement in response to statements made by the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana regarding the consultative referendum to be held on December 3rd for Venezuelans to address the territory of Essequibo. The document states that the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela categorically rejects the infamous and offensive declarations of the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana with respect to the consultative referendum scheduled for December 3rd, 2023. Guyana's statements once again are being drafted by the law firm employed by ExxonMobil, a company that has corrupted the Latin American and Caribbean values of this nation and bought the Guyanese political class, dragging them into a erratic course of action. The statement also stressed that Venezuela, in accordance with international law and the principles enshrined in the Geneva Agreement of 1966, insists on urging the Guyanese government to desist from its unilateral and subordinate actions to transnational capital. Authorities of the Venezuelan National Electoral Council revealed the questions that will be included in the referendum on the Venezuela-Guyana Essequibo. During a press conference on Monday, the president of the electoral body, Elvis Amoroso, informed that the will of the people to create or not the state of Guyana Essequibo will be expressed through a referendum containing 5 questions. The consultation will be held on December 3rd in accordance with the proposals made and unanimously approved by the nation's parliament on September 21st. In Brazil, a student is reported dead and 3 other students wounded after an attack inside a school in the east zone of the city of Sao Paulo. The State Public Safety Secretariat reported that a 15-year-old teenager entered the school with a gun and started shooting at students and teachers. The authorities in the area indicated that the attacker has already been arrested, but the motive for the aggression and the origin of the gun are still unknown. The government of the municipality of Sao Paulo stated that the injured people are being treated at the Sapo Pemba General Hospital. After winning the first round of presidential elections and heading to a runoff against Libertarian Milei, the Minister of Economy, Sergio Massa, announced a package of measures to strengthen economic activity and income. The plan includes fixed non-remunerative sums on account of future increases and credits for workers. The Minister of Economy and candidate also a new dollar rate for exporter, looking to strengthen the country's dollar reserves, one of the main concerns between now and November 19th. He also advanced a new objective, a 1% surplus budget, as he plans to eliminate subsidies and benefits to companies that represent almost 5% of the gross domestic product. For his part, presidential candidate of Liberty Advances, Javier Milei, summoned this Monday all the sectors that want to get rid of Kirchnerism to join his party in the runoff election. In this context, Argentina's Minister of Economy and presidential candidate Sergio Massa called for a government of national unity.
I think it's a mistake to say that the next period will be linked only to Peronism. We are going to have a government of national unity. I will summon the best of the different political forces, regardless of their origin. Argentina has to stop being a chronic beggar of debt and become a supplier of labor.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Palestine, humanitarian organizations warn that the hospital system is on the verge of collapse as a result of Israeli bombardments. The Palestinian Health Ministry reported that at least 10 hospitals have stopped functioning in the last few days due to the lack of medical supplies and problems with power and water services, which led medical personnel to work well above their capacity. Experts warn that the number of wounded in emergency rooms during the Israeli aggression exceeds 16,000 people. In view of the situation, they call on the international community to intervene so that Israel allows the entry of humanitarian aid. According to health authorities, the number of fatal victims of the Israeli aggression amounts to some 5,791, among them 2,360 children, 1,292 women, and 295 elderly. The Israeli occupation forces killed more than 200 Palestinians in Gaza, mostly women and children, overnight. Amid an extreme hospital crisis, health authorities in Gaza denounced the bombing of the Al-Shanti refugee camp in the north of the Strip, with the number of deaths estimated at over 55. In Al-Balad, in the central Al-Bureij refugee camp, and in two areas south of Rafah and Khan Yunis, the number of wounded left by the occupation airstrikes exceeded 320, increasing pressure on the hospitals, which all have less than 30 hours of power. And amidst a strong institutional and political crisis, Israel's invasion into the Gaza Strip opens a new front to justify another delay. According to Israeli media, the Defense Ministry considered on Tuesday that they can delay for a few days the invasion of Gaza in order to facilitate negotiations for the release of numerous hostages. They affirmed that Tel Aviv and Washington want to exhaust all options and listen to Hamas' proposal on the 200 hostages. Several critics of the occupation claim that the Ministry of Defense has not prepared any effective strategy for the operation, while Hamas confirmed on Tuesday that it has 35,000 soldiers at its disposal to face the invaders. The Israeli government will not authorize under any circumstances the entry of fuel into Gaza, signing the death warrant for the hospital infrastructure in the Strip. Mark Regev, senior advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, confirmed this in an interview to a U.S. media outlet. Without providing evidence, he assured that the fuel that entered through the Rafah crossing was stolen by Hamas militiamen. However, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs confirmed that none of the trucks that have entered Gaza were carrying fuel. In fact, hospitals in Gaza only have power until this Tuesday night. The president of France, Emmanuel Macron, arrived in Israel on Tuesday and became the fifth head of state of Western governments to visit Tel Aviv since October 7th. The presence of the French president, according to his statement, is intended to de-escalate the current crisis that has left more than 1,400 dead in Israel and more than 5,700 in the Gaza Strip, and to mediate for the release of all the hostages, including French citizens. The president expressed his solidarity with his counterpart Isaac Herzog for the events of October 7th. Macron also met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and will possibly meet with the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas. Israeli occupation forces intensified their shelling of Gaza overnight of civilian structure. We go with Gaza correspondent Noor Harasin for more on the current situation in the Strip.
3 weeks of intensive Israeli war on the Gaza Strip left Gaza's hospital with barely anything to survive or barely anything to treat those injured. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, more than 5,300 Palestinians were killed in the past 3 weeks, and the hospitals are dealing with hundreds of thousands of injuries. Now the hospital have run out of some of the basic medicine and medical supplies. Egypt over the past days allowed humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. Right now we are in one of the storages of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. Behind me is the boxes of humanitarian aid that was allowed to Gaza. Most of these boxes have antibiotics, bandages, needles, cannulas, sunburn creams and burn creams, all of these things that are needed for the hospital. But what is the most important thing for the hospitals to have is fuel to generate the hospital and keep the lives of those who are premature babies and inside the intensive care units. Noor Harazin, teleSUR, Gaza.
The United Nations mourned the death of at least 35 workers of its Agency for Palestine Refugees murdered by Israeli bombardments in Gaza. On Monday, the agency's Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed sadness over the death of its workers and thousands of civilians in the midst of the Israeli occupier siege against the Palestinian people. Guterres also expressed his support for the agency's workers who remain in the area, assisting thousands of civilians under siege. On the other hand, UNRWA said that nearly 600,000 internally displaced people are sheltering in 150 agency facilities in the Gaza Strip, 420,000 of whom are sheltering 93 in the southern part of the territory. It was also said that 40 agency facilities have been damaged since the confrontations erupted on October 7th. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Tuesday denounced violations of international law in the Israeli bombardment of Gaza and urged an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to bring aid.
The people of Gaza need continuous aid delivery at a level that corresponds to the enormous needs, and that aid must be delivered without restrictions. I salute our UN colleagues and humanitarian partners in Gaza working under hazardous conditions and risking their lives to provide aid to those in need. They are an inspiration. To ease epic suffering, make the delivery of aid easier and safer, and facilitate the release of hostages, I reiterate my appeal for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
On Tuesday, the Foreign Minister of China told his Israeli counterpart that all nations have a right to self-defense, but they must protect civilians and abide by international law.
Thank you for your interest in Foreign Minister Wang Yi's call with the Israeli Foreign Minister yesterday. In fact, he further spoke his Palestinian counterpart. I think Wang Yi cleared up all nations have the right to self-defense, but they must abide by international humanitarian law and safeguard civilians. The most pressing task is now to prevent the situation from escalating further and from leading to a more serious humanitarian disaster.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. The sixth day of the Pan American Games Santiago 2023 was marked by the tennis, gymnastics, and beach volleyball matches. It is important to highlight that this day was characterized by a wide participation of the public. Our correspondent Eduardo Regonesi has more details in the following report.
Day 6 of the Pan American Games that started early in the morning with Argentine Luciana Moyano defeating Ana Sambrook from Dominican Republic. In racquetball action, Bolivia had an impressive performance with two of their competitors qualifying to the final match. Conrado Moscoso and Rodrigo Montoya will play on the final, securing gold and silver for Bolivia. High attendances has been the norm in these games, which has the local authorities very pleased.
It has been very positive. The attendance has been very good. We're very happy. Many families. Even more grateful to be able to be part of the sports festival. We have seen more very good results and some high-level performances.
One of today's main events was the men's all-around finals in artistic gymnastics, where Felix Dolci from Canada took the gold, leaving Brazil and the United States with silver and bronze. The large crowds present in the stadium have valued the organization.
The last time I was at the stadium, I came to see the football team. And the stadium has changed a lot, for the better, with new and remodeled facilities, and it is really spectacular.
The fan zone was built to welcome the general public, as well as competing athletes that are relieving tensions before their important matches.
Tomorrow, I will fight with my team. And I really want the gold medal. It will be very nice if I win the gold medal.
The day will close with the very popular Chilean Casens Grimaldi in beach volley against the Mexican couple Virgin and Saravia.
In the United States, local authorities noted the Mississippi River, known as the Water Highway of North America, is dangerously dry. Experts confirmed that for the second year in a row, the water level of the largest river in the U.S. has dropped to historic lows amid a prolonged drought. Recent studies indicate that the water crisis in the state of Louisiana is growing more acute by the day and threatens a historic drinking water crisis as salt water from the ocean moves upstream due to the river's weak flow. Colonel Cullen Jones of the New Orleans office indicated that to counteract this saltwater intrusion, the Mississippi Valley would need 10 inches of precipitation. However, the Climate Prediction Center forecasts that this winter's El Niño phenomenon could make the northern plains and Midwest drier than usual.
But we're begging for a rain. I mean, it's just crazy. We need a good rain up north to get this river up and everybody would feel better. Everybody. The farmers, everybody. I mean, it's crazy how everything's happening right now.
This isn't something any of us want to see. It's got the industry on its knees. We're just barely functioning right now. And if it were to fall another foot or two, that would probably close the river.
Also in the United States, at least 7 people were killed early Monday morning in a 158 vehicle accident on Interstate 55 in Louisiana, state police said in a statement. The police said more than 25 people were hospitalized with injuries of varying severity, and many other victims went to medical facilities on their own. According to authorities, the crash was generated by a lack of visibility caused by dense fog and smoke from fires in the state's southern wetlands. After the crash, several cars caught fire and another vehicle went off the road and fell into the water. The driver was rescued. A tanker truck also crashed and had to unload the dangerous liquid it was carrying due to the damage to the trailer. As a consequence of the accident, the police informed that the road will remain closed at least until noon on Tuesday for the inspection of possible damages. We have come to the end of this news brief, and you can find more. Before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events, tell you live stories of the people of the South, and break the hegemonic media dominance. And you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social medias, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.